Inside the recycled wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards. Full process. The process begins with the raw material. This cascade of wood waste is the first step in creating high-quality MDF boards.
This massive excavator begins the process, moving the raw wood waste towards the processing line, where it will eventually become high-quality MDF boards.
Here we see the raw wood debris being loaded onto the conveyor, the first step in creating high-quality MDF boards. The vibrating conveyor shakes the wood debris, preparing it for the next phase of the recycling process. The chipper blades reduce the wood waste to small fragments, the first step in creating high-quality MDF boards.
The recycled wood is broken down into chips and fed onto the transport belt, heading towards the refiners to become high-quality MDF boards. The vibrating screen is crucial. It sorts the incoming wood chips, ensuring uniform size before they move on to the refining stage. Here, the air sifter uses a powerful blast to separate the lighter contaminants like paper and plastic from the heavier wood chips below.
The washing station is the crucial first step. Here, the raw wood chips are submerged in water to remove any remaining impurities. Inside the recycled wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards. The full process.
These wet chips are now moving up the incline, ready to be refined before pressing into high-quality MDF boards. The process begins as the recycled wood chips are delivered into these massive silos, the first step in creating high-quality MDF boards. Inside the digester, high-pressure steam breaks down the lignin holding the wood fibers together, turning them into a soft, wet pulp.
The pressurized wood chips meet the grinding discs, separating the material into individual fibers.
The process begins as wood fibers are rapidly transported through the blow line, the first step in transforming recycled waste. As you can see inside the recycled wood factory, the glue nozzles inject a fine mist of resin into the stream of wood. Here we see the crucial stage, where the recycled wood fibers are coated in a specialized adhesive resin while suspended in the air. Inside the recycled wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards. Full process. The recycled wood waste enters these massive dryers, essential for removing moisture before the refining process.
Inside the cyclone separator, the wood fibers are spun in a high-speed vortex, preparing them for the next stage of MDF production.
Inside the recycled wood factory, these processed wood fibers, looking soft like cotton wool, are the first step in how wood waste becomes MDF boards.
The forming machine precisely distributes a thick, even layer of fibers, the crucial first step in creating high-quality MDF board.
The recycled wood waste is now a continuous blanket of fiber, moving rapidly along the production line before being compressed into boards. The massive leveling rollers ensure a consistent thickness across the entire fiber mat. The pre-press machinery compresses the thick fiber mat down to a manageable height.
The fiber mat enters the pre-press looking fluffy and unstable. After compression, the material is dense.
Once the wood waste is broken down into fibers, it is formed into a continuous mat. These massive saws then trim the edges cleanly.
The recycling process begins as the trimmed offcuts are rapidly sucked into the vacuum tubes, returning them
Inside the recycle wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards. Full process.
As the fiber mat moves along the conveyor, a fine, pressurized mist is applied, initiating the critical heat transfer process. The fiber mat now enters the continuous hot press, where immense heat and pressure bond the fibers together, creating the durable MDF board.
The mat is rapidly compressed between the gleaming belts, transforming the loose fibers into a dense board.
As the thermal wave hits the fiber mat, the specialized resin rapidly cures. This causes the wood fibers to cross-link.
The fibers are loaded into the hot press. High heat and intense pressure bind the fibers, driving out moisture.
To convert the wood waste into high-quality MDF boards, the refining process must be precisely monitored.
Here in the control room, technicians like Gary monitor the quality metrics closely, ensuring the density profile. The soft wood fibers enter the hydraulic press, where intense heat and pressure bind them together.
As part of the full process, the flying cutoff saw clamps onto the moving board, ensuring
Inside the recycle wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards. The master panel is cut and rapidly accelerated, separating it from the continuous strip.
A massive star cooler wheel slowly rotates, lifting the newly formed MDF boards into a vertical position for the next stage of the drying process.
Here we see the freshly pressed boards entering the star cooler, where they are gracefully rotated to ensure even cooling before the next stage.
After the pressing stage, the newly formed MDF boards enter the cooler, rotating slowly as the steam escapes.
Once cooled, the automated system neatly stacks the boards, preparing them for distribution.
Here at the factory, the recycling process begins as the forklift delivers the raw wood waste, soon to be transformed into new MDF boards.
Here, the robotic arm precisely guides the recycled wood into the sander, the next step in creating high-quality MDF panels.
Once the boards are formed, they move to the sanding station, where high-speed belts ensure a flawless finish.
the dust extraction pipes are crucial, vibrating violently as they vacuum the fine wood fibers. The first step
Inside the recycle wood factory, this is how wood waste becomes MDF boards.
As the recycled wood is compressed into MDF, this laser sensor ensures the thickness is precise down to the millimeter. We run extensive checks at every stage. The data confirms this batch meets our high-quality standards.
Here at the cut-to-size station, massive circular blades precisely trim the newly formed MDF panels.
Inside the recycle wood factory, the large master panel is precisely cut into standard sizes before moving to the next stage of the process. The journey begins as the saw blades precisely cut the dense MDF boards, transforming wood waste into usable material.
After pressing, every MDF board undergoes a rigorous quality inspection, transforming wood waste into high-quality building material.
Inside the recycle wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards, the full process. The forklift transports the raw wood waste, the first step in transforming discarded timber into high-quality MDF boards.
Inside the recycle wood factory, we witness the full process of how wood waste becomes these massive stacks of MDF boards. Once the wood waste is processed into these finished MDF boards, they are precisely stacked onto high racks before shipment.
Inside the recycle wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards, full process.
The final step sees the finished medium density fiberboard pallets carefully loaded onto the delivery truck, ready for transport.
Once the wood waste is collected, the containers are sealed and transported for processing into high-quality MDF boards.
Once processed into high-quality boards, the finished product is loaded for distribution, completing the cycle from waste to resource.
Inside the recycle wood factory, how wood waste becomes MDF boards, full process.